So funny thing just happened. Please ignore my very messy desk here. But I was playing around with this thing. This is the Oppo F1s, mid-range phone from Oppo, released in about I think 2016. And I dug this out from storage and I was playing around with it a bit, so that I can probably make a video about it, talking about how it is to use in 2025. Now that it's almost like 10 years old. Whoops. And no longer supported because the last Android version that Oppo gave it was, there it is, 5.1 Lollipop. This was an early version of ColorOS back when I really didn't like how they did things, without the app drawer and stuff like that. So glad they removed it, and put an app drawer on it. But anyways, this version of Android is basically no longer usable because look at this. YouTube doesn't even work. So, yeah, trying to do stuff with it, like compatibility in the App Store, is pretty much no longer a thing. I mean, there are still apps that probably support it, like Netflix is still supported for some reason. That's weird. And yeah, some other apps are still supported, but by and large, many things are no longer supported on this phone because of that update that Oppo gave it. Like, I think this was released with Lollipop, and that's basically all it got. I mean, some markets got Marshmallow, but not here. So, this would be pretty much a piece of metal that is unusable in 2025 if there weren't any custom ROMs that we can use. And I looked this up on the XDA forums. There is a thread discussing that very possibility there. Root into the WRP custom ROMs for Oppo F1s. So I was very hopeful, and I've been actually bookmarked this since I think about last week. But here's where the twist is. If we go down to the original post for this thread, the links are no longer available. None of them work. And I've looked up other websites as well. Their links are gone. There is no, as far as I know, there is no custom ROMs available for this phone anymore, and it's no longer even supported by enthusiasts. So, yeah, that episode is just basically cooked now. I'm stuck here with an old phone running a very, very old Android experience that in this day and age can't even pass my basic workloads. Like, YouTubing is a daily part of life for me. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and this not being able to watch YouTube anymore, at least on the app, is so frustrating that this basically has no use to me. I mean, it still has a headphone jack, so I think at least I can probably use it as a music device, but considering that my Reno 8Z, a phone from 2022 that currently has Android 14, also has a headphone jack, I don't think I'm going to be giving that up for this anytime soon. This, by the way, is a good representation of how far things have come, both in ColorOS's style as well as the software updates that they are getting. See this? That's a proper app drawer now. It's been a thing since I think Android 10 for ColorOS, and thank God it finally appeared. Like, I've been using Oppo phones since 2018, and the lack of the app drawer was what especially drove me crazy on my A3s, because it's like a basic Android feature that they basically just removed out of, I don't know, trying to copy the iPhone, I guess. This is a very, very blatant iPhone 7 clone. Like, look at this. Some people have asked me if this was like an iPhone or something, and I always told them, no, just look at the logo from the back. It's not even trying to be different, right? And the skin was the worst part about it. Like, the app drawer was what really separated Android apart for me, and not having that officially supported on many of my phones actually was insane. So I just basically stuck with using like custom launchers. Like, I used Microsoft Launcher for a while, and while it was memed, it was actually pretty good. But now that Oppo has brought back the app drawer since actually Android 10, so it's been a long time now. But I'm still appreciative that they stuck with it and have made a skin that is basically stock Android, like almost stock Android actually. Like, look at this. This is basically about as close as you can get to stock Android, but still having the additional things that make it very, very useful, like this side dock, for example. This is also on Samsung phones, but it works slightly differently, and I probably prefer Oppo's implementation here. Oh, and another thing here, that this is still getting updates 2 years on. This has gotten 2 feature updates, one to Android 13 and to Android 14, I think just last year. I don't know if this will get Android 15 at some point, but Oppo hasn't let me down yet on this device anyway. So this has still gotten feature updates and security updates since the day I got it, which is a massive change of pace compared to older mid-range phones like these, which basically got, if you were lucky, 1, and if you were not, squat, just like nada. Now the phone that I'm using right now is the A3s, the one that's recording this video, has 4 feature updates worth of updates promised to it by Samsung. So we will see how that goes, but quite frankly, I'm very much excited to use this up until Android 18 if they follow through, right? Because that's the thing with Android phones, and just like smartphones in particular, right? Many of the things that make them useful are tied to their software, right? The software version of their operating system is what matters. And while that has become less and less useful over the years, like any phone that runs Nougat, for example, Android 7, can still run most apps to this day, that bar keeps rising up and up as the years go by, because like new features get added, new phones support newer and newer features from newer and newer things that are being added to them constantly, right? And being stuck on old software, even if the hardware is still usable, like this is still about as fast as many entry-level phones, this one can't be used properly anymore. At least it's very difficult to use this these days, especially if your applications no longer support this version of Android, right? So I'm glad we're leaning into this direction now where updates are far more common, but yeah, it's a bit of a shame that I can't do a video about this properly, about, fixing up this phone with Lineage OS, just because there is nothing for it anymore. But we'll see. Maybe this still has potential for a video, right? Maybe I can get that Marshmallow fork of ColorOS running on this thing. I don't know. We'll find out. So, yeah. That's basically it. See ya.